This was Elijah's world, acres of wheat stretching to the horizon like a sea of gold. A quiet life, inherited from his grandfather. Days were long, tied to the sun and the soil. He loved the quiet, the endless expanse. It felt like freedom. But as dusk settled and the wind died, a new kind of quiet came. A stillness that was almost too still. He'd catch it then, a faint whisper just at the edge of hearing, like static in the air. Shh! Like a secret being shared by the very air he breathed. Just the wind, he told himself. Or maybe the tiredness creeping in after a long day. The whispers were subtle, barely there, but they were persistent, a constant low hum beneath the natural world. He'd convince himself it was imagination, a trick of the light, a strain of the ears. But even in the quiet of his bed, the echoes seemed to linger, dancing at the edge of his dreams. The field felt like a silent watcher, its immense presence felt even when it was dark. A cold dread began to settle in his stomach, small but growing. He'd shut them out, try to block the sight, the sound. But it was always there. Trips to town became less frequent. The small talk felt like static. He craved the silence of his farm, and the silence was broken only by the whispers. No longer just at dusk, but at midday, too. They were like a song playing just for him, a symphony of barely there sound. The feeling persisted. Even inside he felt the field calling, a silent beckoning that raised the hairs on his arms. He tried to ignore them, to believe it was just the heat or the solitude. But they were always there, a quiet murmur under every thought. The whispers seemed to thicken with the darkness, no longer a suggestion, but a faint, persistent hum beneath the silence. Sleep offered little respite. The sounds followed him into his dreams, echoing through his subconscious. The tick of the clock grew louder, the silence around it deeper, more profound. He would wake suddenly, heart pounding, convinced he'd heard his name, whispered from the shadows. The field watched him. He knew it. Always watching, always listening. He started to wonder if the whispers weren't just in the field, but inside him now. A constant, insidious hum. They were growing stronger, more insistent. A silent conversation beginning to form. The stalks seemed to hum, a low vibration that he felt in his very bones. He tried to find a rational explanation. Wind currents? Fatigue? Loneliness? But deep down he knew. This was something else, something ancient. They were a presence, a silent companion in his solitary life. The field tightened its grip, slowly, subtly, irrevocably. They were clearer now. Not words, not yet, but distinct, like countless tiny voices, just beyond the threshold of understanding. He'd try to shake them off, these phantom sounds. Blame the heat, the isolation, the sheer vastness of his life. But they drew him in, deeper into the field, where the stalks grew taller, denser, whispering secrets only for him. He found himself walking without thought, drawn by the invisible melody, the promise of something just out of reach. Sometimes a flicker in the periphery, a glint of light where there should be none, deep within the golden expanse. He'd spin, convinced he saw something, a shadow, a movement, something that melted back into the swaying stalks. The field was changing. Or maybe he was. The lines on the map started to blur. He began to see patterns in the swaying grain, designs only he could decipher. They were telling him things, old stories, secrets whispered on the wind for centuries. The field hummed with a life he never knew existed, a hidden ancient consciousness. His vision sharpened. He saw what the field saw. He felt what it felt. He found himself drawn to the heart of it, where the whispers were strongest, clearest. They were beckoning him deeper, promising understanding. He sought answers in old books, forgotten legends of the land. The puzzle pieces clicked into place. The field would shift around him, revealing fleeting glimpses of things that shouldn't be there. Sleep offered no escape. The whispers became a chorus, a symphony of forgotten voices, weaving through his very thoughts. The wheat itself, it vibrated with a hidden life, a consciousness, waiting. He found himself humming along with them, a tune he'd never heard before, yet knew intimately. They were telling him to trust, to give in, to open his mind fully. Resistance began to fade. A strange peace settled over him, replacing the dread. The field was orchestrating something, a grand design, thousands of years in the making. And he, Elijah, was to be a part of it, a vital, willing participant. He extended his hand, no longer fearful, but accepting. He started to wonder if the whispers weren't just in the field, but inside him now, a constant, insidious hum. Even in sleep, the promises continued. Sweet dreams of eternal rest. The field was growing bolder, creeping closer to the farmhouse. He removed the scarecrow. There was no need for it now. No birds would dare trespass. The light itself seemed to change, filtered through layers of ancient secrets. He felt the earth's heartbeat, a slow, powerful rhythm that vibrated through his fingertips. The field was orchestrating something, a grand design, thousands of years in the making. The whispers coalesced, not just sounds, words. They were telling him things about the soil. They spoke of the land's hunger, of what it needed, of a deeper harvest than mere grain. Feed us, the whispers sang, 100 tiny voices weaving into his own thoughts. Feed the earth that feeds you. He stopped leaving the farm. The world outside felt distant, irrelevant. Only the field mattered now. The whispers promised peace, an end to the endless solitude. If only he listened, if only he understood. He found himself digging, testing the soil, feeling its pulse, the whispers guiding his hands. He began to carve the symbols the whispers taught him into the very earth. The field accepted his offerings, his devotion, and it grew stronger. His tools felt heavy, charged with a new purpose, sharpened not for harvest, but for sacrifice. The whispers had become his only truth, his only reality. The world outside faded. The field became his universe. He was no longer alone. The voices were companions, confidants. They showed him things, hidden things. The wheat itself, it vibrated with a hidden life, a consciousness, waiting. The field had chosen him, not just as a farmer, but as its shepherd, its provider. He felt its pulse, its ancient, endless hunger. He began to draw what the whispers showed him, horrifying visions of connection. The farm itself felt infused with the field's malevolence. He was at peace now, a terrifying, absolute peace. The field was preparing, a grand design, and he, Elijah, was the key, the willing instrument. They sang of transformation, of eternal connection. His vision was perfect. He saw the world as it truly was. The deepest parts of the earth were speaking, calling to him. The field hummed with the life he never knew existed, a hidden ancient consciousness. Even in sleep, the promises continued. Sweet dreams of eternal rest. The field was growing bolder, creeping closer to the farmhouse. He removed the scarecrow. There was no need for it now. No birds would dare trespass. Dusk fell, but it was different now. The field wasn't just vast, it was alive. A breathing, undulating mass. The whispers were no longer suggestions, they were commands, clear, unmistakable. The final harvest, they sang, a low, guttural chorus that resonated in his bones. The true planting. He saw it now, the field's true purpose, its ancient hunger, and what it truly required. The air was heavy, sweet, and sickly, the scent of dark earth and something else, something alive. The ground pulsed beneath his feet, the veins of the earth thrumming with anticipation. He sharpened his tools, not for grain, but for a different kind of reaping. The whispers guided his hands, teaching him ancient rites. The farm itself felt infused with the field's malevolence, awaiting its destiny. The field had chosen him, not just as a farmer, but as its shepherd, its provider. The whispers had finally promised him true peace, a peace that could only be found in the darkest soil. The peace was within reach, a horrifying, inevitable peace. The moon rose, full and cruel, painting the field in sickly silver. Tonight was the night. He stepped into the heart of it, the wheat parting unnaturally before him, like water revealing a path. The whispers roared now, a deafening chorus inside his mind, around him, everywhere. Welcome. He raised the scythe, not in defense, but in dreadful purpose. The earth pulsed beneath him, a hungry heart, a final guttural cry, not of fear, but of communion. Then silence, a profound, absolute silence, heavy with unseen satisfaction. The sun rose, painting the field in a new, vibrant gold. The harvest was complete. A new life had been planted, deeper than seed, deeper than bone. The farmhouse stood silent, a quiet sentinel. Its master was gone, absorbed by the field, become part of its endless growth. The earth hummed with new energy, a silent, profound satisfaction. The whispers returned, faint, sweet, beckoning, not for Elijah, but for anyone who dared to listen. A new ear, a new mind, to receive the ancient song. The field waited, forever hungry, forever listening. It grew vast, it grew deep, it grew strong. A network, a consciousness, born from the very soil, and the cycle would continue forever. Its whispers are for you, always.